Hey, it's Vince. Want to say what's up, all you hashtag very cool guys and very cool girls. It's Sunday, and that means that it's a day of rest. Or, if you have stuff to do around your house, it's a day to get them done. Let's get started. So what we're going to show you how to do today is how to take out this valve, okay, and replace it with a nice new ball valve. First thing you want to do is turn the water off to the house. Easiest way to do that is to find your water meter. This is where the main supply comes in for the water to the house. Okay, there should be a valve before the meter and a valve after the meter. You could turn either one of them off, but for today, because there's no handle on the valve before the meter, we're going to turn the valve off after the meter. Turn this off. Okay, and once that's off, you can begin to drain the water out of the plumbing in your house. The best way to do that is find the lowest point in your house, which is this wash tub. Turn this wash tub on, okay, and that's going to allow the water in the house to drain. You can see some water is coming out now because there must be a valve turned on upstairs in the house. That water's draining out. But the best way to get all the water drained out of your plumbing so you can make your repair is to go, you start out, you turn on the wash tub in the lowest part of the house, and then turn on the valves at the highest point in the house, which would be the bathroom. Let's go do that. So we're up here in the bathroom. We're going to turn on the valve for the cold water. Okay, and you could hear all that air rushing in. Okay, and that's allowing the water to drain throughout the house. Okay, you could turn on the hot too, let all that water drain out, and for good measure, flush the toilet. What you'll probably need to make this repair is going to be some type of gas. We're using MAP gas. We have a Burns-O-Matic TS4000, which is, it's auto ignition, pretty cool. I've had this torch for years, but you're going to need some type of torch. You're going to need a cutter, you know, a pipe cutter, whether it's a full-size cutter like this from Rigid, which is a pretty solid cutter, but because of the tight quarters up there, we're going to probably need this maxi cutter, small cutter, tubing cutter, to get in there to make the cut. You're going to need a tubing cutter. Then you're going to need a way to clean the pipe, which we have this from HDX. We have this wire brush. You can clean inside of the 1/2-inch fitting, and you could also clean the outside of the tubing. We'll show you how to use that. You never know. If we were going to unsweat that old valve off of there, we might need to use the persuaders here, these are just good old channel locks, made in the USA, baby. Good old channel locks. And you're going to need some type of solder. You know, you're going to need, this is Oatly Safe Flow lead-free solder. You know, I don't know why, but we have a bad habit of, I at least do, of always saying, hey, listen, I need a pound of lead. But this is lead-free. Doesn't make sense, does it? But I guess it's just the lingo. Also, you're going to need flux. This is Oatly number 5, lead-free solder paste, and we have a little solder brush in there. And we're going to need our new valve. And we have an assortment of fittings just in case, all neatly organized in our Dewalt organizer. Here's our new valve. We're going to put a ball valve in there, 1/2-inch ball valve. We're going to put one with a with a drain, and we're definitely going to need a coupling. You know, you might want to use a repair coupling, which means it has no stop in there, or you can use a new, you know, a new, for new work, new coupling. It has stops in there, so you put your coupling on exactly the way you need to. Let's get started on making the repair. So I'm starting to think maybe I'm out of practice with this whole thing, this camera. I'm actually the iPhone, and I went through a whole cutting out the valve, and I put the camera down. I went to move on to the next step and realized that the camera was off. So the damn valve is already cut out. So what we did was we used our Rigid maxi cutter. We started on this side of the pipe. I mean, it's pretty similar to this pipe. We got close to our size. We then tightened down the cutter and then spun the cutter around the pipe until the we felt like a release in tension, okay? And when we felt that release in tension, we tightened down the cutter some more, you know, by spinning the wheel, and we repeated that process until the pipe was cut all the way through. We then did the same process on the other side. Okay, once the valve is cut out, we then drained the pipes into a Tupperware or whatever you have handy, some type of catch pan, to get all of the water out of the pipe, so that when we go to solder in our new valve, okay, the pipe is able to, and the valve are able to heat up to the proper temperature to make our joint. If there's any residual water in there, you're going to want to get it out. It's going to hamper your ability to heat the valve. So make sure as much water is out of there as possible. Okay. Next step is to clean the outsides of that pipe. So what we're going to use is, and I'm like hesitating at this point to turn the camera off because Dodo me might not turn it back on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our HDX brush. What we'll do is we're going to use this part of the brush, and what we'll do is we'll slide it on. We're going to slide it on to the end of the pipe, and then we're going to spin it back and forth on the pipe until it's nice and clean. Boom, nice and clean. We're going to repeat the process on this side, and we'll get right back to you. Okay, both sides of the pipe are clean, and what we want to do is now we want to start to test fit our pipe. We have our new valve. You might have enough slack in your pipe to where you don't need to put a coupling and another piece of pipe, but that actually doesn't seem like what's happening here. We could probably force that, but I don't want to put any extra strain on the plumbing here. And the reality is that the reason there's so much movement and slack is because it hasn't been properly clamped into place. We might add those clamps when we're done, but what we're going to need to do now is fit this section of pipe here with a coupling and a little section of 1/2-inch copper pipe, and we'll fit it into our valve. Also, when placing your valve, and putting it in place, as you can see, there's a little arrow here. This is for the flow. The water comes through this pipe here and feeds this pipe here, so you're going to want to put the arrow pointing this way, and that will also mean that your drain, if you have a valve fitted with one, once this valve is turned off, you can leave the rest of the house on, okay, but you'll be able to, like we did earlier, how we turned on the wash tub to drain the plumbing so we could work on this plumbing, you'd be able to drain the plumbing from here back to the valve, okay, get all the water out of the system. This will act like a drain from here forward, and you'll be able to sweat your pipes ahead of this valve. Pretty cool. So let's test fit our next pieces of pipe. So we only needed a couple inches of pipe to make our joint up. So what we did was we held this little section of pipe in place, and we just pinched it off where we need to make our cut. So where our finger is, from here over is the section that we're going to need. So all we're going to do is grab our cutter, we'll put it on the pipe in that area, right? Close it down. Got a football fan upstairs in case you hear that. Okay, so we'll put our cutter in place on our pipe, and then we're going to spin the cutter around the pipe, tighten down again as you feel the resistance go away. All right, and then boom, our section of pipe is ready, except for we need to clean the edges. So we'll get our wire brush, good as new. Boom, beautiful. Okay, next we're going to prep our valve. Okay, all we're going to do to prep our brass ball valve is we're going to get this part of the wire brush. We're going to stick it inside of our valve. We're going to spin it around. It's just to scuff up the brass, clean the brass somewhat. Okay, we're going to stick it on this side as well. Okay, and you can see it's roughed up that brass a little bit. Okay, next step we're going to do is we're going to start to apply our acid flux. This acid flux, once the valve and our couplings and our pipe are heated up, the acid flux, what it does is it draws the solder into the joint. So you're not going to be able to get by without using an acid flux. It's a must. You're going to need it. Otherwise, your solder will not flow. It will not flow into the joint. We got an enormous amount here, but what you're going to do is you're going to want to put a little bit of flux inside the valve here. Okay, inside the valve here. Okay, set that aside. Next step, you're going to want to flux. It's a nasty looking brush, isn't it, people? You're going to want to flux your pipe. Okay, then you're going to put the one pipe into the valve. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to flux the existing pipe. I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, all you're going to do is you're just going to apply with your brush flux to this side of the pipe. You still see we have some residual water. Want to make sure the majority of that is out. Apply some flux here, and we're going to apply some flux here. The flux cleans the copper. The acid flux cleans the copper, and it allows the solder to flow into the joint. Oh, almost forgot. We're going to need our coupling, so you're going to want to clean that coupling as well, using the tip of the wire brush. Get that coupling nice and clean. We're going to flux the coupling, okay, and then we could just pop that coupling, boom, right onto our assembly that we have. This coupling has a stop, so it will only go under the pipe exactly what we need it to, as you can see in here. We're going to set this all in place, and then we're going to begin the sweating process. Okay, as you can see, our new valve is in place, our little section of pipe, and our coupling. Okay, if you need to, you might need to spin your valve a little bit just to make sure it's seated all the way onto your existing pipe, and just give a little push in one direction to make sure that it's all seated properly. And let's begin to sweat the joint. Oh yeah, you're going to want to remove your drain off of your valve. Got a little rubber gasket in there, and as this valve heats up, you don't want that rubber gasket to burn or melt. So you're going to want to remove that before getting started. So we've attached our MAP gas to our torch. It's a Burns-O-Matic TS4000. It has automatic ignition. Okay, so you're going to, there's no particular order. You don't need to sweat these in any particular order. But what I like to do is, I like to start away from the valve. I like to start at my coupling. Okay, this way it gradually will heat up the pipe, and then we can heat our valve and then sweat beyond. So we have a little piece of solder here. We're going to use this up before we use that other roll. And all we're going to do is we're going to heat our coupling and heat our pipe evenly. Okay? And we're going to heat it to a point where it will melt the solder. You're not looking to use the flame to melt the solder. You're looking to heat the copper to a temperature high enough that when you rub the solder over the joint, it will freely flow into the joint. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start our flame. joints made here. And as you can see, it wasn't the flame that we were looking for to melt the solder. We heated the joint and then ran our solder over the joint, and the copper actually melted the solder. We're going to continue the process here on our valve. And that's about it. Also, as you could see, because our drain's open, it allowed for any residual water or steam to escape. And that's it. And some of you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, you didn't run the actual solder on the other side of the pipe. Is that solder back there? I mean, did you make a full joint? And the reality is that you don't necessarily, especially on half-inch pipe, you don't need to necessarily run the solder on the back side of the pipe, because we've used acid flux. The acid flux draws the solder to the other side of the pipe for you. So we pretty much are guaranteed that we have four sturdy joints here. So all we need to do now is we're going to grab a rag. We're going to wipe clean any additional acid flux. I got to tell you, these joints could be a little bit prettier, but because of making the video, I only have so many hands. So let me grab a rag, some water, wipe these joints clean. We'll throw our cap back on and we'll pressure test our joints. Okay, so we just grab a damp cloth and we're going to wipe any residual. We're going to wipe these joints clean of any residual flux, because like we said in the beginning, any residual flux will cause the pipe to corrode. All we have to do now is throw our drain cap on, turn the water on. All right, so we have our drain cap. We'll throw it on the pipe here. And what we'll do is we'll just check for operation. Seems nice and free. Beautiful. What we'll do is we're going to turn this valve off, turn our water back on, and see what we got. Here we're back at the valve, main valve. I'm going to slowly turn that valve back on. And remember, when you turn that valve back on, you have faucets throughout the house that are also on. You're going to need to turn them off. So turn your valve on and then run around the house and turn all those valves off. Okay, we're back at our valve, and before we go and turn the water on at the valve, I was just going to check here at our first joint. I don't see any leaks. You're going to want to slowly turn this valve on. Okay. Okay, and it looks like we have 0 leaks. 0 leaks. Our drain, there's no leak here. And now we have water back at the house and throughout the entire house and the second floor, but we have no drips here in the basement. Beautiful. So we're all done for today. We're placing our valve. We're putting our tools back away in our TOUGHSYSTEM organizers. We've been testing these things out. We're loving them. We really hope that this video is going to help somebody. And if it does, make sure you leave a like and leave your comment below. Also, if you dislike this video, smash that dislike button, but leave your comment why you dislike this video. But like I said, we really hope that this step-by-step is helping somebody, and we'd love for you guys that appreciate it to hit that subscribe button. Now it's time to get ready to make Sunday dinner. For the hashtag very cool guys, just want to say thanks a lot and have a great day.